staff the front door to the system, and we also supervise young people on probation. So in this past year, we have been putting in initiatives to try to really think about who should be coming into the system formally. Research has shown that when young people come into the system formally, it's not good for them, right? So, and about 70% of the kids that come in are low risk. So we'll look at the data later, but we've been trying to divert more young people from the court systems. And in the back end, in the supervision end, we're trying to beef up our approaches so that fewer and fewer are unsuccessful and fewer end up placed away from home, which is another point in the system that is very detrimental to the young people, right? So in terms of the front door, we have had some very innovative educational programs. One is Paint Straight, which you've all heard about in the past few weeks, and that deals with graffiti offenders. We also have had an expansion of the YES program. That's not on the slide, but in Manhattan, which is a high shoplifting borough, so we've done that as well. And then, in terms of the part of the system where they're already on probation, first of all, our on-time delivery of investigation and reports has also been 100%, which is great. And the investigations are becoming much more analytical and really more creative in ways of suggesting interventions that are community-based rather than placement-based. So we've been trying to beef up our resources. The Chat and Chew was one of the resource fairs that we had in Staten Island. We've tried to expand the young people's worldviews. That was part of the idea behind the Bronx walking tours that the commissioner participated in Arthur Avenue. And deliver some life lessons. The Queen's live talk session with rapper Chubb Rock was part of that event. So we're trying to really address the issues of young people in their decision making so that they don't end up placed. And finally, our last-ditch effort, the JRPU, which is a surgical strike of 30 days to try to make sure that the young people don't end up facing a violation of probation in family court. And that's been very successful. We're in the process of looking at the numbers to look at what the future brings for them. So in terms of the statistics, we have sorry, different order in mine. So this is the front end. I don't know if you can see it, but over the last year, the number of diversions, and this is not whether the case got closed as adjusted or not. This is just that initial decision of when a case comes in, does it go formally into court right away, or are there attempts, do we hold it open for adjustment, or do we open it formally for adjustment? And right now we're at 39%, which is amazing. We started in the low 20s, or 25% in January of 2010. So, and we hit a high of 42% in the month of September. So this is all part of the larger plan, as the commissioner said before, focusing on the high-risk clients, so that young people who are stealing gum from a bodega don't end up in our system, sadly, too often. In terms of violations of probation, both the numbers of violations filed and the rate, meaning the number of violations over total number of kids on probation, are down. And so, again, this has been part of an effort to analyze cases, to look at what are the key elements here that we need to work with this young person to avoid going into the placement system, especially avoiding violations that are only based on lack of traction with services or school issues, etc. Also known as technical violations, but I like to talk to them more I like to talk about them more in terms of what is the issue that the young person is presenting, as long as it doesn't become a safety risk. And so long as it's not a safety risk, it's the type of thing that we should continue working with the young person to find the right match of intervention to issues and needs and interests, of course. In addition to these internal projects, we've been working in system-wide towards juvenile realignment. And what that means is that we want to be able to handle all juvenile justice work locally here in New York City, whether from ACDs to even placement, residential care, right? And so we've had this warped history here that the fewer kids we send to OCFS, the more we pay for them. And so we're trying to work with the Bloomberg administration to continue that trend, obviously, but also see whether we can, get some of that money back into our midst so that we can do really creative work in terms of partnering with community providers, doing some other innovative things within probation to really have the kids locally. And if they have to go into residential care, that it's within their community so they can still address the issues that they're facing. So that's the juvenile operations view of last year. A lot of it will depend, the success of the future will depend on our collaboration with planning, training, and community partnerships. So now I introduce Deputy Commissioner Coughlin.
Thank you, Anna. Good morning, everybody. I represent the newest division in the Division of Probation, Planning, Training, Community Partnerships, which is a conglomerate of many pieces of probation that were here already, and a new emphasis on community partnerships, which is a principal concept of the New York model of probation, which you're going to hear a little more about later. So the mission of our division is focused on 4 major areas: to support adult and juvenile operations in providing effective mission-driven staff training, accessing client support services, developing effective interagency and community partnerships, and collecting, analyzing, and evaluating information and data. Well, the 4 elements of this mission are in this division. What you all know, and we're presenting this information in a way that is by division, but none of the work of any of these divisions can function without the cooperation and interaction among all of them. So we're on our own mission to make sure that happens in the most effective way possible. As those of you who struggle every day to find services for clients, doing it one by one and having to make those connections on your own isn't a good use of your time. Although it is your personal interaction with those resources that make them work. What we want to do in this division is make sure we're making those connections for you so that you have the tools necessary to allow you to do the best you can do on behalf of your clients. So the training division has done a lot of work in delivering training over the years. Last year, more than 5,500 of you participated in training programs. We developed employment training and delivered it, Thinking for Change for clients. We are in the process of developing a strategic plan that is going to put this all together in a way that supports the mission of the newly developed mission. On February 11th, next Friday, we're going to pilot a fatherhood initiative training that is going to help POs understand the role of working with clients as fathers and how that can help them achieve their probation goals as well as help their families. All of you know, because you participated in them, the resource fairs that have been held all over the city in 2010 thanks to the core staff. 160 service providers participated in those fairs. More than 1,200 clients were able to access those services. A big accomplishment, I think, is that one of the things we want to make sure is that all of the connections we're making are readily available to each of you at your desk. And the way we're doing that is through getting those resources put into RCMS in a way that makes them accessible to you. Last year, we increased the number of programs in that system by almost 70%. That is an enormous increase, and we're going to continue to refine and do better with that resource. collaboration is a huge part of what we do. Probation has had very little opportunity in the past to contract directly for services. A complimentary point, though, is that our clients are eligible for many services in this city to which they're entitled. Our goal is to make sure that we're taking advantage of all of those services. Since October of 2010, we've collaborated on more than 20 grant applications, so that if those applications are funded, our clients will be able to take advantage of those services. So even though the money won't come to us, we'll be able to accrue the benefit on behalf of our clients. The Collateral Consequences team, a group of providers and city agencies and a staff of probation, came up with a list of barriers to helping people reintegrate into the system, and we're in the process of working on many of those issues. Principal among them are the identification issues, and the Department of Health has agreed to allow us to get birth certificates for people on probation, and we're working with the Department of Motor Vehicle to try to get non-driver's IDs for people who need them in order to get employment and other services. I don't know, many of you, I think, are aware of the Robin Hood Foundation single stops, which help people get benefits. We're in discussion with them about collaborating with us to have single stops that are particularly focused on our clients and the communities they live in. And we're hoping that we have a good outcome with that. The other big area for us is information, and I want to just make sure we thank Carlos Ruiz and staff today. This whole video conferencing system has been developed in the last 4 months, and the fact that we have it working as well as we do, even though we have far to go, is thanks to Carlos and his people. There's been a lot of work in data support and making sure that what we're evaluating what we're doing and sharing the information. And that brings me to the last item, RCMS and its use by each of you. We know there are issues there, and I want to tell you that we're on it, and we're committed to making sure that we fix what the problems are and move on so that the system can do what it was meant to do, whether it's through the current system or a revised system that we're exploring. So I thank you for your attention, and I'm going to introduce who's known as the press guy.